Welcome to Diet Debunk here at Hippocrates Health Institute. I am joined by world-renowned nutrition lifestyle expert Brian Clement here yet again, and we're going to be talking about athletic diets today and really the culmination of what we've been doing here at Hippocrates for the past 60 years, which is improving your muscles, your strength, your endurance, and your longevity. We're going to get right into it. Here we go. So Brian, tell us about sports diets back in the day.
Well, one of my closest friends as I was growing up was a world-class runner. And it was so sad for me. He came from a relatively poor family, and he was being told by his coaches he had to eat 5-pound steaks, had to eat 6 eggs, he had to take a half a pound to a pound of potatoes with butter on top of them, and that was going to help his endurance. It is so wrong. It is so completely the opposite of what we should have done, and thank goodness today we can guide you how to get that muscle strength and endurance without polluting your body and shortening your lifespan.
I mean, I can't believe being an athlete and being told to put butter on top of starches and just the weight and heaviness of that, and then having to go out and actually do sports nonetheless after eating something like that.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. I mean, the dairy and meat industry had such a propaganda impact even on the athletic community. It's just stunning to me.
It's ridiculous. So, well, we're going to get a little bit into what some of the sports nutritionists say that you should eat and what is kind of a common accepted diet as it stands right now within culture, but also where we're moving in terms of the optimal diet that you should be eating. So a little bit here comes from the University of Wisconsin and their tips to excel with proper sports nutrition, or so they say. So one good thing that they do mention is they do say to make a plan to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables daily. I mean, that's great. It's probably an improvement from back in the day, would you say?
Oh, that's a major improvement. The word fruit and vegetable were sort of curse words in the day.
Right, as it relates to athletic diets. And the goal is to eat, they say, at least 5 servings per day, and varieties of color. But they say each serving is approximately the size of a baseball. I like how they use the sports reference in there.
How do you
right?
like it? Well, what do? You have to roll it up into a baseball and put it in your mouth? Baseball's too big. Can you swallow a baseball?
I can't.
Okay.
I'm just imagining some sports person out there saying that they're going to eat 5 apples and like, okay, they have their 5 servings now of their fruits and vegetables, and that's it. Hopefully not. But okay, so at least they do hit that you need to eat fruits and vegetables. But what else do they say? So the next thing that they say is you need to eat whole grain carbohydrates. Now, choose whole grain carbohydrates such as whole grain pasta, bread, fiber-rich cereals, they say, power-packed energy, those are power-packed energy sources. I mean, I think, I used to swim back in the day. I was a swimmer, and the whole thing is they always say you need to eat pasta the night before you go swim. You need to, I remember one time, Brian, I was eating these these Wheaties, like these little like wheat squares, and I ate them before my my competition, and I ate a whole box. And then I went and I swam, and then immediately after I swam, I had to go run to the bathroom and throw up because it was not the right thing for me to be eating. But I mean, let's talk a little bit about the carbohydrates and how athletes are told that this is what they need to eat in order to perform well.
Well, the truth is that carbohydrates are essential for energy, but the type of carbohydrates are paramount in this. So Wheaties, as an example, is a great example of what not to eat. Cereal is not what to eat. We also know that when you cook a grain at a high temperature and make these breakfast cereals, they turn into acrylamides, which also cause cancers and even other disorders in the future. So sprouted grains and the Hippocrates diet, which is 90% complex carbohydrates that slowly break down, releasing micronutrients along the way to build muscle strength and endurance, is what you want.
I mean, it makes sense to me. We don't need to be eating an entire box of cereal before we go have a competition, right? So another thing that they say is very important is the one that all athletes know, we've heard it a million times, is protein, lean sources of protein. So what are they saying are lean sources of protein? Well, they say chicken, they say turkey, they say fish, they say peanut butter. I like how they randomly stuck peanut butter in there with all these other ones. Nuts and legumes, they say. So
They've got to soften the blow with peanut butter?
Right? Let's start with peanut butter, though.
Well, let's not even talk about the others. So peanut butter is a nut that is really not a nut, it's a legume. And we've told people here for generations not to consume it, since it clogs the veins. It's a low-grade legume. It has a carcinogen in it called an aflatoxin. Not a good food at all, and not lean. You know, this weird idea. Whenever you hear lean, you know it's going to be the muscle of an animal. What you want is complete, digestible, usable protein. Now, the key to that whole conversation was digestibility. We have the highest protein diet in the world. So when I've trained 17 Olympic athletes from 7 countries, all of which achieved medals in those countries. And what I can tell you is that in the 1960s, Muhammad Ali was trained on the Hippocrates lifestyle and diet, and he won 2 of his fights. In my time, in the last 10 years, Williams, the tennis player, came here, Venus Williams, who was sick and now is a vegan and out there and winning at nearly 40 years old against women half her age.
Amazing. And do you know what's actually an interesting little rumor, tell me if this is true, about the peanuts, is I heard that for peanuts that they make peanut butter with, that they take all of the ugly, moldy, not always good peanuts, and those are the ones that they use for peanut butter, and they take the nice looking peanuts, and those are the ones that they put into like the ones you get in a bag, like a bag of crackable peanuts. Have you heard that?
That's not only something I heard, I know this to be true. In my early professional career, I would actually stop at factories, health food factories, and I went in unannounced. And some of the things I learned was the health food industry may not be as bad as mainstream producers of food, but boy, it's notorious.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we could talk about chicken, fish, and turkey all day. We all know that according to the Hippocrates lifestyle, those aren't optimal, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about those as we talk about what the good foods are a little bit later on. So the next thing we're going to talk about now is the hydration aspect of being an athlete, and again, what the University of Wisconsin recommends. So obviously hydration, we have to be hydrated, but they say that to increase hydration, you want to look at things like milk, water, and 100% fruit juice and sports drinks can help maintain and elevate your hydration levels. Now, the thing is when I first read this quote, I said, you put milk before water? And to me, that almost knocked me off my chair. I mean, why would they be saying milk above water in terms of hydration?
Because the university or group that did this study were being funded by the dairy industry.
Oh, it's Wisconsin, right?
Yes, yeah. Wisconsin, of course. I mean, they actually wear cheese on their head to be proud to be from Wisconsin. I mean, come on. I'm glad I'm not from that state. You know, in Florida, what would we put on our head? An orange?
I like that.
Yeah, not a bad idea. It smells a lot better, too. Here's what you have to know about this, is that dairy food has scientifically been proven to put extra weight on your body. And what's really remarkable is low-fat dairy actually increases your weight more so than even whole dairy. Not a hydrator, a dehydrator, ironically. And also creates osteoporosis, arthritic conditions, and I don't know any athlete that wants to go in that direction. The second thing I can say is fruit juice. Now, it sounds great because we're on the turf of vegetarian and vegan diets, but the truth of the matter is it's very high in sugar. They take several pounds of fruit. If you're blessed and lucky, it's organic, not riddled with pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, and genetically modified organisms. Most likely they are, but then you're condensing that sugar. So as an example, if you take 1 liter of orange juice, you can get out of it 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Not a healthy thing for you. If you're going to be taking fruit juice and you make it fresh, water it down. 80-90% water, 10 to 20% raw organic fruit juice. The next thing I'll tell you is sports drinks are damaging, dangerous, and will kill you. And we can get into this. Here we have had guests from all over the world, and we had a lovely family come here about 15 years ago from Quebec, Canada. They were gifted classical musicians. Amazingly, each one of those children, as they were growing up, were taught a different instrument, and they performed when they were here. And we just fell in love with them. They were a model family, you know, just great human beings, and I got very close to the children. And about a year and a half after they went home, the mother called crying, sobbing to me on the phone, and said she lost her son. And I said, what do you mean? And he refused to drink alcohol. He was out with his buddies, and of course they were young teenagers at the time. And he said, well, what I'll do to feel I can fit in is I'm going to drink sports drinks. So he took Red Bull, he drank 5, and overnight he actually died.
Wow.
They found him dead. And I was so outraged by this innocent, beautiful human being had to die to a so-called energy drink, a sports drink. I looked it up, and at that point in history, and I'm sure it's higher now, here in the United States and in North America, we had about 2,000 deaths that year designated to these energy drinks. Be cautious of these. Why don't you tell the story that you told me earlier?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I was in college, for instance, you know, I was also eating a plant-based diet back then, you know, and there's plenty of plant-based, vegan options for sports drinks and energy drinks as well. And I had gone through a long day of being in college. I had a performance that evening, and then I had to go pick up a friend about 6 to 8 hours away. And so what was I going to do? I had to stay up, you know, through the night to make this drive. And so what I did is I started, you know, drinking energy drinks. I probably had gone through 2 or 3. And then at some point at around 3 or 4 in the morning, and you know, it's hazy outside, and I'm chugging along, you know, doing I think okay. I realized that I thought there was a piece of hair on my face, and I kept trying to get it off. And then I took down the mirror and looked in, you know, my mirror right here, and then I saw that there was nothing on my face. It was just I was losing the feeling actually in my face.
Paralysis.
And so obviously that was extremely scary. I pulled over to the side of the road, started drinking any water I could find in my car to help flush this out of my system. Yep, and it happened again about another 30 minutes later. I had to pull over again, do the whole thing. But anyway, that was a very scary experience for me with the energy drinks. I never did that again afterwards, but you know, you live hopefully and you learn, and I definitely learned my lesson after doing that, that's for sure.
Well, the birth of the segment of these type of drinks happened right here in northern Florida at the University of Florida, where 2 professors realized that their football players who were practicing in July and August in 100-pound heat, I mean, this was like on top of them. They couldn't move with this heat. This oppressive humidity of 100 degrees humidity, 100 degrees temperature.
Yeah.
So they created Gatorade, which is not a healthy drink, I can tell you. Electrolytes you can get, as you know, we do here at Hippocrates, from minerals, electrically charged minerals.
Yeah, we have our great, our superior electrolyte drinks here at the Hippocrates store. They're delicious. They taste like they're sweet. They're not actually sweetened with real sugar, but they have a variety of flavors, and they're very delicious, especially the watermelon. It's a personal favorite of mine. So the next thing we're going to talk about here is the University of Wisconsin does recommend that you should eat less processed food and stick with whole food options as much as possible. That's about all they say regarding that, which I mean, I think we can generally agree with, right?
We agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Less processed is better. So next we're going to go into what they say is required for planning a nutritious meal. And they say, as you'll see in the slide that's right here, is that you should select one from each category. So they say choose 1 carbohydrate, choose 1 protein, choose 1 healthy fat, and there you go. That's your way to create a healthy meal. So if you look over here in the carbohydrates factory, you could have fruit, you could have oatmeal, you could have a starchy vegetable, bread or crackers. And next, you go over to the protein aisle, if you will, which they say you can have whole eggs. Oh! You could have Greek yogurt. Oh! You could have milk, string cheese, lean red meats, poultry, fish. But wait, hold on. At the very bottom, what's at the very bottom? We have hummus. At the very bottom.
You love hummus.
I love hummus. So
she favors this chart which is 98% bad because it has hummus.
At least
on
we
it.
have hummus. At least hummus made it on there. It makes me feel a little bit better.
I know.
But the rest of it, oh my gosh. I mean, we are just talking about, well, and then we have the healthy fats category, which they have avocado, which we can agree with. They have peanut butter, nuts and seeds. We're okay with nuts and seeds, not the peanut butter. Olive oil, we're actually okay with that. Not so much canola.
That's right.
And coconut oil, which we say is probably better for your skin than it is to take it in.
That's
correct? Right. And then they say flax seeds as well. But what's interesting here about this, this protein category and also related to the carbohydrates is, let's talk a little bit about food combining for a minute or so. So what is food combining and why is it important to us here at Hippocrates?
If you look at every creature on Earth, the largest, most muscular, strong creatures, they eat single foods. So look at, as an example, a horse or a cow or a gorilla. They're eating one food to develop that large body mass with incredibly strong muscles. And so you don't need a wide variety of food. Our ancestors ate very similar to every other creature on the planet Earth. And so our anatomy was built through evolution over thousands, hundreds and thousands of years, and literally do better with simple choices. Now, the confusion you have has been given to you by the food industry, which tells you have to eat a wide variety of food so they can sell it to you. The truth of the matter is, in green leafy plants live every nutrient known to man. All protein, all vitamins, all minerals, all essential fats come from that green leafy plant. But once you cook it, kaput. That's the end of that. So now you've thrown out of balance most of that illustrious list of micronutrients that your body requires. These aren't optional nutrients. If you want to live a long, healthy life without disease and pain and suffering, this is the food you need to eat. So it's not really something that you're going to take a protein and a cooked carbohydrate and a nut and seed and put together unless you want to get indigestion over time, fill your body with waste and mucoid plaque, and ultimately not digest the food. You get a lot of gas, but not a lot of punch for your digestion.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people complain about a lot in just very standard diets, is you hear people saying like, I ate this food and man, I'm just so bloated afterwards. Well, I think a lot of that we can attribute to food combining and combining these foods that really shouldn't be put together, and that's why they're having a problem digesting them.
Oh, you bet it. That's definite.
So next we're going to go on to their suggestions for eating on the go. Now, as an athlete, there's a good chance that you will be traveling a good bit, that you'll maybe be in the car, you'll be in the tour bus, you'll be on the plane, no matter where it is. I would sometimes travel, 40 minutes to an hour for a swim meet, every weekend. And so what are they saying that you should be having in terms of on-the-go foods? What is okay and what is not okay? So what they're saying is a healthier food choice is, again, the grilled chicken, the turkey, the fish, lean beef, pork. They throw in the fruits and vegetables there, which we can agree with. But again, the
As
eggs,
an afterthought.
As an afterthought. And of course, they have to go into the breads and the dairy. They say not so healthy options are going to be fried foods like chicken and fish. I mean, that's no surprise, though.
No surprise.
Where's the news there?
No surprise.
They say burgers, sausage, bacon is no good, which we can obviously agree with. French fries, and basically what they're going to here is any of the kind of typical fast foods that you would get, a burger and fries, sausage, egg, and cheese. That's what athletes should stay away from, which we can absolutely agree with, but they're healthy choices as well. Need a little refining.
This, they got an 8. I'll tell you, they have like a little tiny bit of what they suggested that even vaguely resembles healthy food.
Yep. So we'll give them a little credit there. So what we're going to go on to next is actually some athletes who are eating in alignment with the Hippocrates diet and who are actually killing it as it relates to their health and their performance. Right now we have Patrick here, and he is one of the world record-holding strongmans in the world, and he has
the strongest man in the world.
Strongest man in the world. Yeah, he had a former title for Germany's strongest man, and he's also had multiple records. And he was featured in the movie Game Changers, which I know you've seen.
Yes,
It's a great one. So for all of those people who say that you can't get strong and you can't build muscle on a plant-based diet.
Should I take my shirt off?
I think you should take your shirt off. And I think Patrick would like to wrestle them as well to say that, in fact, that is incorrect. And I mean, I wouldn't want to wrestle the guy. I mean, I don't know about anyone else out there.
If you haven't seen The Game Changer, we suggest that you do.
Yeah.
He actually took a car. They said he's going to turn a car over. So I thought it was going to be a smart car that you could pretty much anyone could turn over.
A Mini Cooper.
Yeah. But what happened is this mid-sized car came, and this wonderful gentleman knelt down, took his two hands, and completely flipped it on its roof.
Amazing.
Now that's what vegans do. The rest of you sissies, try it.
Yep. Give it a good shot. Tell us how your lean chicken and turkey is doing this time. So the next person we're going to hit is this woman, Morgan. You know, she was a 2-time Australian 400-meter champion. So she's a runner and a sprinter all the same. And so, you know, there's one thing about muscles that support you in terms of like long distance, like endurance related activities, but also the short-term sprinting related activities where you're exerting a lot of energy very quickly. And so it shows that this plant-based diet can sustain both. It can sustain you over time, and it can also sustain you for those short sprints to really get out the gate and then get to the finish line.
What a winner she was. I mean, she was so formidable. I remember her name being blurted out. I just love the Olympics. I've attended Olympics, and it's one of the great events in the world where everyone comes together and we cheer on other countries, and it doesn't matter where we're from or what color we are. And it really does matter what you eat, though. The fuel behind this, the fuel of health, happiness, and peace, is one that's going to give you the greatest endurance and athletic strength and ability.
Excellent. And the last person we're just going to touch on here is Kendrick Barris, who is actually the American record-holding weightlifter. He still currently holds this record for a few different areas. And he is someone who, again, is a weightlifter. So he is having to build those large quantity of muscle and strength and be able to perform at a level that a lot of people, if they haven't supported the right muscles, I mean, your bones can actually break underneath the weight that you were lifting. You hear a lot of times of these athletes who are weightlifters who they have injuries to their actual bones and their actual structure of their bodies because they're trying to overcompensate in certain ways their body isn't built for. So here's a guy who's doing it and doing it well and is actually very, very healthy.
Not only very healthy, but Kendrick spoke about this. He said he reached a plateau. And somebody suggested a plant-based diet, and he scoffed at that. He said, well, how's that going to help me? I'm trying to lift massively heavy weight. And by the way, the weight he lifted over his head was 750 pounds.
Wow.
And so when he got onto a plant-based vegan diet, that's where he went from 500s to 600s to 750 pounds. Remember, what is arguably the most noted quarterback in the history of American football, just retired now from the Patriots, has been on the Hippocrates plant-based diet in great part for 15 years.
Yeah, very true.
You know, so this is not something that is new to us. The world is coming in our direction. It's taking a very, very long time. And as you see, little baby steps are being made. They're still telling you need lean protein. You need cooked food, you need processes, less processed. Yes, a handful of fruits and vegetables. You have to get on the human diet, and the human diet is a plant-based diet, unprocessed diet, organic diet, uncooked diet. And anyone that would like to challenge what I am saying today, I welcome you here into the guest program, to our fitness program. See some of our fitness instructors.
Yeah.
See what my wife, Anna Marie, and I do 3 days a week when we're at a gym lifting intensely heavy weights every single 3 days, every single week. And this is how you have to live. It's not good enough just to be a vegan. You want to be a sissy vegan, sit on your butt and sit around and get thin and skinny and unattractive. You want to be a real woman, a real man, become a muscular vegan, a strong vegan, not only in your conviction, but in your muscular structure.
I think that's a great way to say it. And I mean, just in terms of your general health, activity is so important in order to sustain a healthy life. You know, if you don't use it, you do kind of lose it after a while.
Well, you're an athlete. I mean, what you do is beyond most what athletes can do.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of that too comes down to the fact that the anti-inflammatory benefits of being on a plant-based diet is completely, you can't compare the two. And there's actually, here's a slide for that, is that, you know, the antioxidant content of plant-based foods versus animal foods is huge in terms of what you're getting. And a lot of this has to do with those anti-inflammatory compounds. And I mean, I know for myself, there was a point in my life where I was eating plant-based foods, but I was still eating dairy early on in my life, especially when I was still a swimmer back in high school. When I transitioned to foods that, a completely vegan diet, I had no more dairy in there, especially, the difference I felt in my recovery time and my ability to not feel inflamed, not to feel like sore and achy. And I feel like, I mean, I was 16 years old. I felt like an old person waking up some
Isn't
days.
it amazing? And all you were doing is taking one of the evils. You weren't taking chicken and turkey and fish, just dairy food.
Yeah.
And remember what an antioxidant is, we've known this for a very long time now, is how you prevent aging and disease.
Yeah.
It's not only notably vitamin C, vitamin E, glutathione, all of the things we get in our foods.
Yep. So Brian, for those out there who are possibly athletes and they want to incorporate some great plant-based foods into their diet starting today, what are your recommendations for our athlete friends?
Well, number one, nuts and seeds are terrific. They incorrectly put them at University of Wisconsin under the fats. These are proteins and essential fatty acids. They're one-stop shopping. And if you germinate them, that's not a big deal, by the way. Before you go to bed at night, if you want some raw almonds the next day, or filberts, or pine nuts, or macadamia nuts, throw them in some water. And then when you get up, they've blown up and they begin to sprout. A little tail comes. It becomes about 15 to 20 times more digestible. And you dramatically increase the antioxidants, the nutrients in there, and the fats actually become more usable for the body, so you have more energy.
Excellent. And any other suggestions other than nuts for
Oh,
friends?
yeah. So then we go back to the real energy givers, the grains. And the grains are phenomenal. But you take the same water, maybe not the same water, different water, you throw the millet, the quinoa, the teff, the amaranth, the kasha, which is buckwheat. You soak it overnight, rinse it, and allow it to germinate. This is powerhouse energy. This is when we have people who are in triathlons, in the Ironman. I don't know how many of you know that we've trained numbers of people who went to Ironman. A doctor that worked with us for a very long time ran the Ironman at 65 years old.
Wow.
Recognize this. This is what you can do when you're on the human diet, not some concocted diet from the industries that want to sell you junk.
Yeah, and I think so much of this comes down to the fact that our bodies, when they're exerting so much energy, they need nutrition. They need the ability to feel fed. They need to be fed and to recover.
Yeah.
And so if we're feeding our body foods that are not supporting the recovery process and that are not sustaining our actual energy production because of what we're getting in, it's like, how can we expect to have anything really that amazing come out, right?
That's right. I mean, it's called a glow factor. So when you see some of these athletes at 20 years old and 17 years old, they look terrific because they haven't degraded their systems at that point. But boy, when you see these athletes at 25, 30, and 40 years old, it is really frightening. I just met, and I won't name any names, a world class. He handed the ring that he ran in the Super Bowl, and he handed it to him. I put it on. This guy is emaciated. His mind isn't working the way it should. He's telling me his cardiovascular concern. This little skinny man has diabetic concerns at this point. Why? Because of the way they told him to eat. The so-called trainers, nutritional trainers, the doctors told him to eat. He's now on this diet. And I assure you,
That's awesome.
in a very short time, he's going to recover, come back, and be quite normal in his 60s.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of sums it up for today. I would say that the typical athletic diet is pretty much debunked, if I would say so myself.
Athletic diet, debunked!
And we will see you guys next time in our new episode where we will talk about something new and fascinating for you to learn from. And thank you so much, Brian, for being with me here today.
Thanks for being here.
All right. Bye, guys.